Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to McMorran Place in historic downtown Port Huron. I'm Vicki Ledsworth, president of the Blue Water Area Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate all of you who have gathered on this beautiful Chamber of Commerce afternoon to welcome our top government officials who are working with relentless determination, courage, and leadership to reinvent the great state of Michigan. First, for those of you from out of town, I introduce you to McMorran Place, the civic, sports, and entertainment hub in the center of our historic downtown business district. It has served our community purposely for over 50 years and hosts annual events such as the International Silver Sticks Hockey Finals, Miss Michigan Pageant, Blue Water Film Festival, Shrine Circus, concerts, expos, plays, town halls, wedding receptions, graduations, and countless other activities and events that support arts and culture, community, and recreation year-round. Thank you to the McMorran staff for being so accommodating to us today, and I hope you will take the opportunity on this great Friday afternoon to visit our wonderful downtown restaurants and stores after the event. Second, on each seat, there is a plain index card. If you have a question for the governor, please write your question legibly on the card, raise your hand, and one of our chamber committee volunteers will take your question. All questions will be presented and answered as time allows today. If you don't have a question, feel free to take the card home and you can use it this weekend for your grocery list. Okay, now back to business. This afternoon, we will hear firsthand from our state's leading government official, Governor Rick Snyder, on the leadership, vision, and teamwork put in place to reinvent Michigan. Reinvention means to change radically, and that's exactly what's been happening in our state's capital for the past year and a half. First, our state's transformation required aggressive tax reforms for business to encourage new investment in both physical capital and human capital, and corresponding economic development programs that support entrepreneurism, innovation, and manufacturing. As promised, he eliminated the job-killing Michigan business tax, ending the unfair double tax on small business owners. Second, sound fiscal management policies, including clear spending priorities and a balanced budget, were developed, and by working together with lawmakers, the governor eliminated the state's $1.5 billion deficit and got the budget done by the earliest date it had been accomplished in 30 years, and he's done it 2 years in a row. The third step in our rebirth includes investments for future growth, such as education reform to increase the percentage of our workforce with post-high school education and improving the return on investment in our K-12 system. All of these steps require the greatest determination of our leadership, because none of this comes easy or without sacrifice. No one understands this better than our Senator Phil Pavlov, serving the 25th District of St. Clair and Lapeer counties. Like the governor, he has faced resistance to change. And when you think of change, even the smallest of change can unsettle a person. But we're talking about radical change, which is deep, all-encompassing, affecting all of us. So he's faced a lot of resistance. And through it all, Senator Pavlov has persevered in the quest to reshape Michigan today and for the future. Senator Pavlov serves as chair of the Senate Education Committee. He also serves as the vice chair of the Senate Natural Resources, Environment, and Great Lakes Committee, as well as both the Transportation and Regulatory Reform Committees. Please welcome Senator Phil Pavlov.
Well, thank you very much, Vicki, and I have to really start by thanking the people at McMorran Arena for being able to accommodate it. They've gone beyond our imagination and provided a beautiful room, decorated fine, nice American flag behind. So thank you to McMorran, but more importantly also thank you to the Blue Water Chamber and Vicki and her team, because they've been able to assemble such a great crowd today, and it's just great to be a part of something that's so important, to have a governor visiting our community and to be able to see firsthand not only the challenges that we face as a community. We've had record high unemployment in St. Clair County, but the idea that we want to showcase to Governor Snyder today is that we're going to be pushing back on this effort, and we are going to be part of a reinvention for Southeast Michigan. Before I go any further, I want to first introduce my colleagues in the Michigan House of Representatives. Representative Paul Muxlow will be helping gather questions on the sidelines to ask. We've got plenty of cards already. Representative Andrea LaFontaine will also be serving in that capacity. We have a special guest from Lapeer County, Kevin Daly, State Representative from Lum, Michigan, who's joining us here today. You guys get enough time to listen to me. I want to introduce Governor Snyder. It's a great pleasure to have you in our community, Governor. And come on up and say hello to the folks from Port Huron and St. Clair County.
Thank you. Well, great. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I want to thank Vicki and the Blue Water Chamber for helping pull this all together. And I've got to give Vicki credit. I was talking to her, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and she said, here's some nice things from Port Huron, and she tried to close a sale already. So she's representing you well. She's a good salesperson and did all the right things. So you get a star, Vicki, for doing that just right. So thank you. And I want to thank my partners from the legislature to be here, because this is about teamwork. This is about all of us working together as Michiganders, because it is a great team, and we are doing a lot. But what I wanted to talk about, and then I really want to spend time on the questions, but I want to set the stage for the questions a little bit. And I appreciate Vicki talking about a lot of the good things that we've done. And she did describe it. It's about reinventing Michigan. If you go back to 2010, when many of us were running for office, we were at the bottom. We were a broken state, and we had a broken government. In my view, and I believe most of us had the view, that fixing Michigan was not good enough. We fundamentally needed to reinvent how we were doing things and get back on a positive path to long-term success, more and better jobs and a future for our kids. And so the reinvention got started. And the normal thing happened that I knew would happen is all of us like change until change actually comes, and it affects us personally. It's a really good, change is a really good idea until it affects you, and then it's like, whoa, that was a good idea until you talked about me. Hold on a minute. And so we had to get through a lot of difficult times to do that over the last year, and we have. And I think a lot of positive things are going on. But one of the things I want to mention to you is change for the sake of change is not a reason to change. What's the goal? What's the vision? And that there's an exciting vision for Michigan out there. It is time for a new era in our state. What I call Michigan 3.0, the era of innovation. Because if you look at Michigan's history, and this is a great part for history, Port Huron, you were at the start of our history in many respects. A lot of the innovations were right here, and it's going to happen again. But that's how we approach this, is if you go back to the 1800s, Michigan 1.0 was the natural resources era. Fur, mining, timber, we led the world, the country. Michigan 2.0 was the 1900s, the industrial era, the auto industry, so many other industries, Tom Edison. And if you think about that, we helped lead the world. Now the challenge in Michigan 2.0 is we were so successful that at some point in the middle of the last century, we got too complacent. We got too content. We got too satisfied as who we were and said, let's keep a good thing going, rather than realizing we needed to reinvent ourselves again and keep up that process. And I'll give you one statistic. And I'm not going to go through a lot of numbers today, but I want to share this with you so you could see some perspective, because I was born in 1958, and I hate to say, that was about the start of Michigan going downhill. We had a lot of ups and downs and cycles, but the trend line was down. If you go back to 1963, Michigan accounted for 5% of the gross national product, the output of the United States. 5%. The high point was about 1965 at 5.25%. We reached our low point in 2009, where we accounted for 2.5%. So over roughly 50 years, we dropped by half of what we account for in the United States. That's not a good answer. And that's why reinvention needed to happen. And that's why we need a new vision for Michigan. And that's what we're doing. So I'm proud to say it was 2.5% in 2009. Today, it's going back up. We're 2.57. Now that doesn't sound like a huge change, but it's a positive change. Last year, in 2010, we grew 7th fastest in the United States in GDP. This last year, we grew 6 out of the 50 states in terms of fastest growth. And so we need to keep that up. And so the long-term vision for Michigan is one where we get back to saying, who are we all about? Well, we're a state that makes things. And we need to be proud of made in Michigan. And when I say made in Michigan, that includes manufactured products, it includes agricultural products that we grow, it includes things that we think up and take to other places in the world. But made in Michigan, where we're providing North America and the globe with the best products in the world, is our legacy. It's also our future. And we need to get back to understanding that. The other part is we need to work on the quality of life here. Really making sure we've got great quality of life already. But how do we create an environment for our kids and our kids' kids? And we are focused on that. A lot of people have been pretty excited that we've gotten 2 budgets done in a row, where we've done them quickly, but more important than speed is quality. They're very high quality budgets. We're balanced. We're paying down our liabilities. We're putting money in a rainy day fund. And we're also planning for our future. I don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but every week I spend some time looking at not only the Michigan of today, which happens every day, but I'm starting to analyze Michigan for 2030, 2040, and 2050. To say, let's understand the actions we're doing today can be sustained and make a difference. To have something that can last for decades in terms of an era that will be truly exciting again, just like we had for the last 2. That's really exciting. So that's the focus of what we're doing. And the key to make it happen is not changing any single law or regulation. It's actually changing how we work with one another and how we treat one another. The biggest challenge in our state is changing our culture. It's not what's happening in Washington, and we're the role model. We're the comeback state right now. Washington should be learning from us. But it's really changing an attitude that during the tough times, we got too negative, we got too divisive, we spent too much time saying the good old days are behind us. None of those 3 things are the right answer. The future of Michigan is about being positive, forward-looking, and inclusive. Because if Michiganders work together, and we will work together, we have been working together, we won't be stopped. We have issues in Europe, issues in Asia, issues in Washington, but we can still be that comeback state and that fabulous place. And it's by having an approach that I call relentless positive action, an approach that says, let's not blame anyone for anything. Have you ever seen blame solve a problem? It's not about taking credit for anything. Credit doesn't matter. It's about results that matter. And then it's about solving problems. And that's my commitment to you, is to say we won't walk away from the problems, whether they're 1-year-old problems or 50-year-old problems. We'll look at the problem and say, what's a common sense answer that we can work together on and solve, and be relentless of solving one problem after another. And that's what we've been doing in partnership the last 1.5 years. But now is not the time to be satisfied. Now is not the time to be complacent. Now is not the time to be content. Now is the time to actually go faster. Because those of you that are in my age group know, we've seen this how many times? I got out of school in 1982. We were at the bottom then too. Well, we came back. But we did not change the habits of the past. And so we went back there again. Now is the time to reinvent ourselves, to have that vision for us and for our kids, to do it in a positive way, to do it as one big team, and to reinvent Michigan. That's my commitment to you. I hope that's your commitment to the team of Team Michigan.